Okay. Welcome to the Viewsroom with Pfif and AWAC. I'm your host, Kat White, aka AWAC, and I'm here with my co-host, Jim Pfeiffer, also known as Pfif or Pfif Daddy.
Hi, folks.
Hey, Pfif. Happy New Year.
You too. Thank you.
What's been going on? How do you celebrate the New Year? Were you out and about being crazy and wild, or?
AWAC, we're old. I think we were in bed at 9:30. I haven't seen the ball fall in probably 20 years. We didn't do anything. We were going to go out to dinner, and then we said no. I mean, it was just another day to us.
Okay.
You know, it's like birthdays. After you're 30 years old, birthdays are no big deal. So no, we didn't celebrate. We had a very busy and hectic Christmas time. You know, with the grandkids being here, and then every night there was a party or a dinner to go to, and opening presents Christmas morning at 3 different places. It's the first time I think in my life I'm glad Christmas is over.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
so I think I'm turning into an old curmudgeon.
I actually just yesterday was scrolling through Facebook and came across on Netflix. They have a whole comedy Netflix is a joke or something like that. And they had put together like a bunch of comedians, well-known comedians, talking about being old and, you know, like not being able to stay up and party anymore and all of the aches and pains that just suddenly happen to your body. So it's like, I've been thinking of, like, you've written several columns about getting older and all of the things that happen. And for me, it's an interesting experience, like, because in your mind, you really are, I don't know, I would say maybe like 25, I feel like, you know, like in my head, all the stuff I want to do and all the things I still have going on and all the passions, but my body is like,
Yeah.
You gotta move slower, You're going to ache. But I also think because I partied hard when I was younger, you know, and like slept on a lot of couches, slept on a lot of floors. Just, pass out, and, you know, so yeah, I'm kind of like, my body now is like, you're done. You used it all up.
Yes.
So there's a part of me that wants to be like,
I did the same thing. I got enough partying in. If I were to go out now and party and have several drinks, the next day I would need a liver transplant, dialysis. It would probably take me 2 weeks to recover. Now that's one of the biggest disadvantages that I dislike about aging is recovery time. Even if I get a minor injury,
yes.
You know, it used to be if I went out and partied by noon the next day, I was drinking hair of the dog. Yes. Now it takes me 3 or 4 days. I get an ankle sprain. It used to be better in 3 days. Now it takes me a couple of weeks. So still, you're right. In my head, I'm still like 15 or 16. No.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah. No, growing old is inevitable.
Yeah.
Growing up is optional.
Oh, I like that. Where'd you hear that? Who said that?
And that's why, you know, you're only young once, but you can be immature your whole life. And that's what makes it fun for me.
Yes. I know we did briefly get together in November, but I was messed up my new technology, so I didn't get to post that video. And we didn't really do an end of 2023 episode. But I did want, like, things happened at the last minute, so I'm kind of glad that we didn't. But it really made me reflect that we lost Norman Lear and Tommy Smothers right at the end of 2023. And I just thought about how much those two, I mean, I had a lot of influences growing up, but it's kind of weird that a Black girl, woman, would have these two influences that were so important to them. But Norman Lear, through his sitcoms of definitely All in the Family, which I watched with my grandparents and my family, and The Jeffersons and Good Times were like, I watched all of those shows as they were, you know, on, and they informed a lot of what I could hear my adults, the adults around me talking about, and just the kind of humor that I liked. I mean, definitely Norman Lear was behind the scenes, but with all of the shows that he put forth, they were so impactful and talking about really like subjects that got your attention. and even as a child, you could understand George Jefferson kissing Archie Bunker, on the cheek for the first time, and what that whole experience was just from their facial expressions. And then, the dynamic between Archie Bunker and Meathead, you know what I mean? Or Edith and Archie. So it was really like, I just am thinking about how much influence it had, and the Jeffersons, of course, and the very outspoken things about race and class, from a different perspective than you had seen before then, from more like of George Jefferson and, of the Jeffersons' perspective. And outside, because they were crazy, especially.
Well, I think what's even more impactful than the shows is the device that brought them into your living room, and that is the television. I mean, that's
true.
Look how that changed society. That changed a lot of things about us, just like artificial intelligence is doing. These are some watershed moments, and I know there's a lot of negative comments and concerns about artificial intelligence, but I'm trying to learn about the good things that it's going to be doing for us and so on. And I believe we'll deal with it. We'll accommodate it. We've done it with many, many times and over the course of civilization. So my big influences were anything to do with comedy, laughing, smart, Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And you know what? The other thing that I like since the Me Too movement, and I see it more in cartoons now, or in commercials rather, commercials showing people of color, showing gay people, showing people from different cultures being married and so on, how all of that changed and it's sort of seamlessly become part of what it should have been all along. Normal part of life. I really like that, and I'm enjoying seeing that the media is starting to reflect what's really out there and how life really is. What's left of the printed media, anyways.
Yeah. Well, and you see it a lot, like you said, in commercials. I don't know if they have the same type of commercials where you are. I'm in Texas right now. You're in New York, obviously, in the southern tier. But we have commercials down here that are fully Spanish, just like normal.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I mean, it catches my attention, or it used to. It doesn't really now, but I remember it catching my attention at first, like, oh, what is this? And then I was like, oh, that's really cool. And you can tell it's the same. I mean, I feel so dumb. I'm such a dumb American, and I need to learn at least one other language. I took Latin in high school, so I kind of know, like, the nice thing about knowing Latin is that it's the root,
right,
of most all of the languages. So you can kind of figure out sometimes what's going on. But
do they have English captions?
No.
Yeah.
No, they're just, and I love it. I'm like, right on. That's the way, kind of. Even though there's always some adjusting as we progress. Sometimes things go, like you said, a little too far, and you have to reel it back in a little bit. But I think there are so many good things that have come out of the Me Too movement, especially I see it with young girls.
Mm-hmm.
I am loving all of the empowered women. There's a show on Saturday morning. So I'm a morning news person. I watch morning news. On Saturday morning, after it's on CBS, the news show, there's a show with Miranda Cosgrove, and she was Carly. I love Carly or something like that. My nephew used to watch it as a kid. It was on Nickelodeon. Smart chick. STEM stuff. It's all STEM stuff for kids, and so it's all of this inventions and especially young girls doing things, making a difference in diversity and just stuff way above. And I watch it it's the coolest thing, and it reminds me of being a kid and watching PBS and all of the shows that they had on for kids that taught you about math and science and really brought you into it. So, and I mean, and I also think we are starting now to look at men. Hi, Cody's tail. And talk about, oh, look at him, such a cutie. But men and mental health and showing their emotions and having a different role. You know what I mean? It's been such an awkward and clunky exchange and move forward. But I think that we're getting to a place where it's okay for men to show their emotions to each other and to everyone else, to get help, to talk about their feelings, whether it's with a therapist, with each other. That's very powerful. To understand that men, you know, and like a lot of the roles that of strong and go out and work are things that have been put on us by society, you know, and we're a lot closer, even though men and women, of course, are different. We're a lot closer in the roles that we can play.
Yeah, that's always bothered me, that you're supposed to be manly, that you can't cry, that you can't show emotions. And I've always been emotional and sensitive. But I would get flack from, you know, other guys about it. So it doesn't bother me now anymore. I'm not afraid to show my emotions or my sensitivity. It's part of being human,
right?
You know, and culture and society tries to change that in us. You brought up a good point about seeking therapy or mental health help. Is that men aren't supposed to do that? You know, I hear the same thing about vaccinations. Men aren't getting vaccinations because for some reason, because I'm a man, my body can fight the virus better than women can. You know, right. And anyway, the other thing that bothers me is the males' views of pets. They don't look at dogs as pets; they look at them as appliances. I have this dog to go hunting. Yeah. I don't want this dog to be in the house and being friendly with people. I want it to be a tough dog and be outside and go hunting all the time. And they don't treat him well. They don't care about him.
I do wonder now, though, that you say that, if that is more of a rural thing versus a city thing, and maybe it's also just depending on where you live. But like Austin and the surrounding areas are so, especially dog friendly, not breed. I have a problem with pit bulls, just like everywhere else, which is horrible. But I mean, like they have bars that you can go to with your dog, you know, and the dogs can play all together while you're drinking. You know, it's so dog friendly, and like take your dog with you to do all sorts of things like a buddy, as opposed to like I mean, we have that. And it's as you move further out from Austin, you see more of that in the more rural areas of like just dogs that are outside all the time and, you know, aren't allowed in. And I mean, like I said, the dog that I ended up taking over, Tigger, like took over my freaking bed, my life.
Yeah.
You know, we went for walks when he wanted to go for walks.
One of the issues again with gender is that more male owners of dogs will not get the male dogs neutered because they think somehow that the dog isn't going to be as manly, and it's a bigger issue down south, and that's where Cody was rescued from, Alabama. Cody and his sister. That's where they were rescued from a family that just raised these dogs to hunt and to be watchdogs, and they were outside all the time, and they were taught to be mean and not to like anybody. And and although I agree with you with pit bulls that I think a lot of it is inbred, it's still how you treat the dog and how you educate the dog, whether it's going to be mean and how it's going to treat people.
Right. Well, I mean, and to your point, I mean, we have a Staffordshire pit bull, I believe, terrier. And then I think that's what it is. It's a blue nose pit. And then we also have an American or an English bulldog. And the English bulldog, they said, you know, to keep them intact and not to get them neutered unless they started showing aggression. And Henry did start showing aggression. Just was not raised around aggression at all. And we had, you know, the two other dogs. We had the pit bull and a mini Great Dane that we had rescued. And they were like brothers, all played together. He grew up with them from being a baby and still was aggressive and tried to like take over being the alpha. And so, I mean, we have it controlled, you know, at this point in time, but it was it was hard to deal with. But again, it was the bulldog, not the pit bull.
Right.
The pit bull is a big baby. He's a big old baby. And so, I mean, he doesn't sound like a baby, and he can fight if he needs to protect himself, but he's a baby. So
one of the issues we're seeing up here in Elmira with pit bulls is a lot of the drug dealers and gang members have them to protect their homes, and they're raised and taught to be aggressive. And then when they leave the area or they get incarcerated, they just abandon the dog, and the dog has to be put down because it can't be adopted.
Right.
I see that a lot. I've talked to a lot of people in animal control who speak about it. Did you just recently see the news about the dog fighting?
No.
How that's growing on. There was an incident of that up here about 10 years ago. That really angers me and breaks my heart.
Yes.
That they're raising these dogs to fight and to kill each other. And that's just ignorance. And AWAC, there will always be ignorance.
I know. It's
crazy. I read a great quote. It says, when you die, you don't know it. It's the people around you who suffer. And when you're stupid, you don't know it, and it's the people around you that suffer. Yeah.
How true that
is. The more ignorant people are, the louder they are, and the less self-awareness that they have.
Definitely.
That's what bothers me. I mean, it's the comedian there, Mr. White, says you can't fix stupid, and I agree with it.
Well, yeah. Hopefully you can fix it. Hopefully there's a way. We just haven't. You'd think we would have figured it out by 2024, but unfortunately we haven't. So we can move on, but I did want to mention something about about AI and ChatGPT, because I just got something right before I came on here, an email from an AI person. It was sent to me not like with a gobbledygook email, but an actual name of a person, as like a career recruiter to get me job opportunities. And it had written up my a cover letter of who I am. And it was a little choppy. You could kind of tell that it was robot-y, technical glitchy things that didn't kind of make sense. But it was a great template to go off of. I could take that and rewrite it into I was very impressed with myself and what they had taken from whatever they found on LinkedIn or whatever places.
It's amazing. Yeah, I just met with a professor at Elmira College. He's thinking about joining the board of the Pfif Academy, and I was asking him about AI and what the school's policy is, and he says he can usually tell when a student submits an AI generated essay or paper because it repeats the same information over and over and over again. But he said the policy they have is just what you mentioned. Let AI write it up for you and use that as a framework, and you build off of that framework.
Right.
What broke my heart is he said is that he's an English professor. He says 2 out of the 3 freshmen who come to Elmira College cannot write a sentence. That just stuns me. I don't know how they keep getting moved along in school. They keep passing them and moving them on. If you can't write a sentence, you can't do basic arithmetic and so on, that they all need this remedial help when they become freshmen.
Well, I don't know. Are they have they cut back on faculty and teachers and professors and things of that nature and relied more?
He said one of the issues is STEM, and STEM doesn't include English and literature. And there's a big concentration on that, and that texting hasn't helped in teaching people how to write complete sentences, paragraphs, and so on. So I never thought about the STEM issue.
I have noticed, when I text, I write incomplete sentences usually. There are, certain just quick things that, see you soon type stuff. But if I'm actually texting someone some information, I'll like go back and edit it rather than just, and my nephew doesn't do that at all. Like he's in his early 20s and he's like, I mean, I can decipher it. But
part of my problem of being a boomer is I don't recognize the initials or the anagrams, what they stand for, you know, and I really, 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 really want to see someone actually laugh their ass off. I keep looking, when I go out in public, I keep looking for people who don't have asses. I go, they must not be reading or running into people who are really funny.
Or rolling on the floor laughing out loud.
Like, or even laughing out loud, you know.
Just people dropping everywhere. Although I do LOL quite a lot.
But you know what? And this is what I've seen with the LOL. It's because the person isn't there and you can't see their body language or their expressions. Lots of times when they make a joke, they put LOL in so the reader knows that it's a joke. And so that they don't get offended or so they don't understand it. And that's one of the downfalls of communicating only by text, is you're not reading the body language, the emotions, and so on.
Well, and I think, yes, in texting and like social media, you know, you can be saying something in a sarcastic or a funny way, and someone completely takes it differently, and it can blow everything, you know, way out of proportion and turn something bad. That is one of the bad things about. So
the other thing I don't like about texting is my girls, for example, and my grandkids, they don't talk on the phone anymore. You got to text. And what I could do on the phone in 60 seconds, it takes me 10 minutes texting back and forth. I can't call and leave a message because they either haven't set up their message ability or it's full, you know. And my wife does this. I'll text her or I'll call her and I'll leave a message, you know, and she'll call back. She goes, "What do you want? Did you listen to the message?" No. I left a message.
You do know, though, on texting that you can talk to text, right?
Yeah, but I do that, but it again, that AI isn't foolproof. You know, it doesn't. I stumbles over my words or it puts the wrong words in, and you know, and I don't always go back and read it before I send it. And people are coming back to me, what are you talking about? You know, so yes, I do use that as much as possible.
Yeah. So looking forward to in 2024, what are you thinking? Like, what are you looking forward to? Is there anything you're looking forward to? It's an election year, a big election.
Yeah, I'm not so much looking forward as I just want to get this election over.
Yes.
I mean, I'm very frightened that if Trump wins, and I've said this often, and I don't hear it very often, I'm more concerned about how many people in America support and believe in this guy. That's frightening. You know, what a terrible, terrible person he is. How does he have all this support? You know, that's what bothers me. There's that many people who are that ignorant, or are that racist, homophobic, don't care about.
You could be all of those things and still find another Republican candidate that is not Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And regardless of, I'm the same way. And part of my problem, I'm surprised anyone in New York State is a Trump supporter. Like, because regardless of, I could understand being outside of New York State and the only thing you know about him is The Apprentice. So like, I get that. But in New York State, like there was decades before that where he was horrible to like the working man, like contractors. He was, you know, I mean, all of the stuff was way before he ever like had an inkling to say anything about becoming president or wanting to become president. One of his heroes is Roy Cohn. And if you look that up, Cohn, you have to know the story of Roy Cohn because it is mind-boggling.
He was an attorney for the mob, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's one of it. Yeah, that's why he likes dictators too. That they are his heroes. You know, and it's interesting. You were talking about when you become more rural, you're seeing the issue with the dogs. Up here, when you get outside of the cities, you start seeing all the Trump flags.
It's the same because we live
everywhere. It's everywhere out in the country, where it's more rural and isolated.
And that's the worst part is that at least here in Texas, I don't know, New York State politics that well, but at least here they don't care about people in rural areas. They don't, the hospitals are closing. Rural hospitals are closing in droves, so people have to travel farther for, my sister's a labor and delivery nurse, and if you're pregnant, you got to go 50 miles before you can come to the nearest hospital. That's insanity in this day and age. The telehealth is, they don't have the telehealth out there because they don't have the towers. And, so I don't understand why these people would support. I mean, not to say that the Democrats are perfect or, I'm an independent, like registered independent. I identify as a progressive. I know people have a lot of issues with that. That's fine. So, but I'm just saying, like, definitely with the legislation that's been put forward and the things that have been done, it's kind of like with this whole mental health thing. Now, all of a sudden, for Republicans, mental health is like a big issue because they don't want to do anything about gun control. But it wasn't a big issue in the 90s when they were closing psych centers and places where people that had mental health issues could be put in a safe place with medical care and, and not on the streets as homeless people, which is now a big part of the problem. And I know it is a problem in the Southern Tier as well.
Yep.
Having people
one of the big issues with rural areas, because they don't have access to all these human services, social services, they don't have transportation to get there. There's high incidence of domestic abuse, of sexual abuse, of violence, of mental health issues, of substance abuse.
Yeah.
Here we have people, it's easy to get help, and it doesn't help, and it isn't in rural areas. And because it's in a rural area, people don't see it, which is another big issue. You see the homelessness here, people want to do something about it. You see the poverty here, people want to do something. You go out in the rural areas and there's that abject poverty. I see these places, I go, does people really live in those places? And, and they do. That's a big issue.
That's another one of the fallacies that kind of goes along with this whole idea of Trump that isn't realistic. It's kind of like controversy from the I don't even know who it was, country singer who was talking about small towns. And it's like, little towns have big meth problems. They have big drug problems just like anywhere else. I think one of the issues that they always are bringing up in Elmira is the drug issues there. It's not just people coming from Rochester. It's a lot of people that are right from there.
Yeah.
That are making meth in their, homes or out in the rural areas. And stealing copper from places like the Star Gazette, which happened last year. So, let's be realistic about it. There are wonderful, wonderful things about small towns. I'm actually about 20 miles outside of Austin. So it would be like Corning, Elmira distance. And it's a suburb, it's a smaller town, and it's awesome. There's so much, in addition to the Trump flags, there are neighbors, that help each other out and just moved, and our neighbors, without knowing who we were, came out and helped us move some of the heavy stuff in and helped us get our Wi-Fi up because we had issues with our own connection. And so, it's just, I also do not understand down here why Trump would be such a big deal since he's from New York, but maybe not anymore. I think they kicked him out, right? So he's a Florida guy.
But that's the big mystery, is I don't understand why anybody supports him. He's such a terrible human being, and everything he says is a lie, and he doesn't care about America. He only cares about himself. It scares me that there are that many people who live in and around me who support this guy. He must have the same values.
And there's no substance except the only thing that he says that he's going to do if he becomes president is drill, I guess, and close the borders and have one day of retribution for everyone that has wronged him.
Yeah. And build a big detention facility for all of the quote unquote illegals that live here. And I mean, what really frightens me is because he can't run again, is the terrible things he'll do while he's in office because he thinks nothing's going to happen. I firmly believe this guy thinks that he is the Teflon Don. You know, when he made the comment, I could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and nothing's going to happen to me. And you see what he does is he gets lawyers and he fights it and he delays it and so on. You just, you know, AWAC, I didn't think about it. He just asked me what I'm looking forward to in this coming year. I can't think of anything I'm looking forward to. I'm frightened about it, you know?
So I feel you with that. There are two things I want to talk about. One of the things I'm looking forward to is our dear friend Melanie Wood's trip on the Appalachian Trail that starts June 2024. And we will be talking to her before that in May. But I'm excited. I'm so, like, ever since I learned that she was going to do this, there's just such a part of me that loves nature so much. Like, I'm afraid of nature. I'm afraid of all the creatures there and being disconnected. There's a part of me that has fear for that. But there's another part of me that I remember growing up and we were always in the woods, like all of us kids just playing hide and seek, and there was no cares. It was just our imagination of what we could do there and being surrounded by those sounds and the trees and it's so magical. So I'm very excited for her in that sense.
And what you're talking about is called forced bathing or nature bathing. Yeah. And you know that when I go out into nature, that's my church. Yeah, well, that's where I go to relax, get rid of the stresses of the day. It's where I'm the most comfortable. It's where I go to meditate. And I'm fortunate because it's just at the end of my road is the river and all of those trails are there. And I do a lot. And I take this one with me a lot too, you know, to go out into nature. So you're right. I am looking forward to when the weather gets better. I'll be doing more kayaking, more hiking, and so on. And I really support what Melanie is doing, hiking the Appalachian Trail. Yes. So yeah, I mean that's if I didn't have that, I think I would go crazy. That's one reason I could never live in a really urban area like New York City because I need to have my nature bathing. You know, yes. I need to have my daily dose of it.
Yes.
But at the same time, I'm worried about climate change. And I just last week, I cleaned up a bunch of trash that somebody dumped at one of the boat launches. And it just breaks my heart when I see that people still have no understanding or no respect for nature. They're dumping toxic substances 100 yards from the river from their water supply. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like I said, those are stupid people. There will always be stupid people, and I'm not going to change their minds. Right. You know, but that's unfortunate. But I do at the end of the year, I always make a list of all the things I'm happy about, and there are lots of them. But until you just mentioned it, I'm thinking about, I'm really looking at the rest of this year with trepidation and a little concern and fear, especially if he gets elected.
Yeah.
You know, what it's going to do to this country.
All of the things I'm looking forward to are like personal things. You know, they're like personal things that I'm doing. But you're right. I do think, which brings me to my second point. I've been watching a lot of Netflix docuseries lately, and one of them is about this place called The Garden, which I guess was started in Tennessee, and now they're purchasing land throughout the country, and they build themselves as this commune. They look like kind of a hippie commune. The show is basically whether or not you get to watch certain episodes and figure out whether they're a commune or a cult. And at the heart of it, I don't think that they're a cult. But there are some, and one of the reasons why is because as they're going to these different places, purchasing land, and they're setting it up as living off grid. So it's, you know, compost, going to the bathroom, outdoors, and cooking over fires, and, you know, and creating your own environments where there aren't electronics, or there are because they video. and put it up on YouTube. So, and that's the other thing, is they're kind of open about all of that stuff. They invite visitors in, and that's what this show is based on is saying, hey, we're starting this new place in Michigan, I think, Michigan or Missouri. And if you want to come help us build it, you're welcome to come, you know, and if you want to stay, then we'll do a vote and see if you can stay. But you can stay for at least 10 days and help us. And they have a bunch of different, like 5 different people that they profile coming in. And all of them are coming not necessarily to join the commune, but because they want to learn how to live off grid, because they think society will collapse shortly in the next 10 years. And either that or there's going to be a zombie apocalypse. Both of those things. And I'm like, that's exactly the way I'm starting to feel now, which I think is part of why I'm interested in watching this woman like do the whole Appalachian Trail and live off, you know, off grid basically for all this period of time. And I wonder if I could do that. If I could.
Yeah, and it's, well,
because
I'm leaning more towards that than I used to be. And the nice thing about learning about live off grid and be self-sufficient is that you're learning to be self-sufficient. You feel more confident. You can take care of yourself. I'm curious, are most of the people who are organizing these events, are they boomers?
No, they're not. They're young. They're young. A lot of them are really young people. I would say Gen X and younger. And the head of like the one that started in Tennessee, the original garden, his parents met at like a rainbow gathering. I don't know if you know about, they were viewed as a cult, but they would go around to different places out in the woods and have, it was like a hippie thing. And then there was some weird stuff on the side. That happened. But what he wanted to do, or how he said he started, was him and a friend wanted to live off grid. And I've seen this on other shows too, where like there's a treehouse master show on Discovery, I think it is, or the Learning Channel. I love that. I want my own treehouse.
I've always wanted a treehouse.
And to like live in one, you see people that are actually like living in a treehouse for their life, and I'm like, yes, so that's the, yeah.
For me, it goes back to the movie Swiss Family Robinson and the tree houses they had. And I remember as a kid saying, "Oh my God, what if I want to do when I grow up? If I ever grow up, is build a tree house and live in a tree house." I love always being up high and elevated. I love the views from there. I feel like I'm just up. You're above it all. You know, you're in a whole different environment. I agree with you.
Exactly. I had, at one point, I was living by myself down here at a place called Arbors at Tallwood. And I lived on the top floor. So I had a balcony that came out and it was just surrounded by trees. And it was the most, they called it a tree house apartment. And it was just the most amazing thing to be able to go out there and sit and have the trees around and the birds and, you know, the whole thing. And just to, again, with the nature bathing, it's,
the energy that comes from trees is amazing.
Yes.
And they're full of chemical and electrical energy. And that's, you know, I can feel that when I go in the forest. And I don't know if you know about how their root systems are all connected with its mycelium and how they communicate with each other and share food and water. And, you know, trees are truly amazing.
Oh, yeah.
There's a great saying that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now.
Yes.
You know, and I agree that that's one of the things I like doing is I've planted more than probably 70 or 80 trees in the last year through different. There's a program up here called Trees for Tribs, where you plant.
Oh yes.
Trees. Yes, and I've been heavily involved with that, to planting them along streams and ponds and so on. It's really nice. You know, AWAC, I just realized, and I think I've said it 6 or 7 times in this conversation, is that I agree with you. That's starting to scare me that I think like you do.
I'm having my influence on you now that
yes, you are, and it's scaring me. Good minds think alike.
Well, good minds do think alike. Looks like Cody's getting a little restless there.
Yeah,
so
somebody's outside, and no one's allowed to walk by the house without his permission.
I completely understand that. My dogs, Henry and Sherlock, are the same way. They want to let them know to stay away.
Yeah.
So, but that sounds like a good note to end on. I know I've kept you for quite a while today.
It's always fun.
It is always fun. It's great to see your face. And one of the other things that I'm looking forward to in 2024 is I do plan on being back there for a high school reunion and a Star Gazette reunion. So hopefully we can get something together in July.
Boy, AWAC, let me know, because I've been thinking about that, about doing it again at my house. Give me enough notice when that's going to happen, because a couple of people live several hours away.
Okay.
We could do that. Speaking of that, I ran into Wayne Boucher at the grocery store.
Oh, really? How's he
looks
doing?
good. His hearing's going. He still is stubborn and narrow-minded as ever, but it was good to see him.
Well, I would love to see everyone. You know what I mean? There's so many people doing different things, and that just warms my heart. I loved Wayne. He was such a curmudgeonly dude way back then, like almost 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
It was crazy. All right. Yeah. Well, that's it for this episode then. You have a great, fantastic day, and I will see you soon.
Thanks, AWAC. Love you.
I love you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you next time, folks.
Bye.